And I guess welcome back to another episode of So Random and Weird podcast. Today, Sheena, I'm your host,
And I'm Sarah.
and yeah, it's obviously this is going to be a fun episode because
Yeah.
apparently I have no grasp on the English language today.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah
That's
blah.
okay. We can speak, any kind of language you want. I don't care.
Wanna
We
go
can
do to go
gibberish.
you to go read to key
Oh,
mem.
no, no. Oh my God, I forgot. Oh God.
Been
No.
like a century. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
so
well,
sorry. Excuse
my
me, friend. I'm exhausted. I was at a baseball game earlier today.
you look a little
Experience.
red.
I even though I had sunscreen on, I think I got some sun, even though I was not even sitting in the sun. I don't know how my skin is so Casper the Ghost that I burn at the drop of a hat. I mean, I had sunscreen on, I put sunscreen on Tyrion. His marching band was playing, they played at outside of the Barnstormers game. I'm sorry, I guess they're just the Stormers now, not the Barnstormers. But they played outside the Stormers, stadium, like, pregame, and
Mhm.
then they played, the national anthem, and God Bless America, God, yeah,
Something.
something. Yeah, they played the national anthem, I know that. I can't remember the other side, the trombones played it, I can't remember. America the Beautiful, no, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was God Bless America, anyway. So, yeah, and so that was a really cool thing, we got to go down onto the field, and, yeah, it was so oh my God, it was so cold, though. Like, friend, it is May, and usually May is warm, hot, and it was cold, I was shivering, and I'm
I'll
always
trade you.
hot. I'm always hot.
I will trade you. It is 86 degrees and full on study. I am
No, I'd
dying.
rather have this, I'd rather be shivering.
Yes, I mean, I am one step away from doing this recording this naked because I am dying.
Hey, you know what,
I'm
friend? No
gonna take
judgment there, no judgment. We love you
I
no
am
matter how you
going
come, so but
I am going to take a cold bath when I get done.
that's so weird that it's cold here and yet it's hot out in the West Coast.
Mm.
That's so weird.
In the
Hey,
Pacific
climate
Northwest.
change is a myth though, So, but no, so yeah, I'm here and I have the air conditioner on because my husband left it on and, I don't know, I could probably turn it off and then turn it back on later on, but I have the blanket wrapped around me because I'm still cold.
You
I've
know,
never
it's
been able to warm
warm
up.
when your pet who's like a stage 5 clinger, is
Mhm.
not sitting next to you, like, not even touching me.
She's like,
So,
"Nope, nope."
yep, yep.
With her fur coat on, yeah, she's probably like, "No, get away from me. I don't wanna be touched by no one right now."
Which
So,
is me as well.
yeah, yeah. When I'm hot like that, I'm like, "Oh, I can't sleep. I can't sleep when I'm hot," you know?
Yep.
I'm like, "I need to be cold. I need to" I'm turning the air off. I need to be, comfortable, and I'm not comfortable when I'm hot. I'm getting God, I can't say this. I'm getting more and more like my mother as I get older. God, horrible.
Well,
I
you know what? Comparatively speaking, that's not a bad thing.
I get miserable in the heat. I don't know if I could reenact anymore. I really don't because I get so miserable in the heat. I get testy and bitchy and yeah.
Yeah, no, I have always been this way about being hot,
Mhm.
and so I am about 2 steps away from becoming a toddler with a temper tantrum because
About
I have
becoming what?
a toddler with a temper tantrum
Taller for 10.
because I hate it. I am sweaty
Yeah,
because, like, the next couple of days is gonna be, like, lower 70s and, like, 60s, and I'm dying.
yeah. I mean, I used to be able to have a corset on with, like, layers and layers of cotton clothing and work around a campfire and not get nasty. Now I think of that and I'm like, "Hell no. What was I thinking? I must have been insane." Although I loved it, give me air conditioning, give me cold, no corset, thank you, I'm good. I'm good with no corsets anymore, I'm done, maybe not.
Well, today for my episode, it's kind of funny that my iPad is like giving me like underlighting, so I almost look like I'm going to tell you a spooky
Ooh,
story.
there you go.
So for can you give me a gin?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, they can take the poofiness out of my face and just give me a facelift.
All right. So
So
my episode today, I'm going to do on something that's like really near and dear to my little chaotic heart is tarot and oracle cards. I'm going to give you some of the history, some of the meanings, and also some ways that you can interpret what it is. Of course, in typical ADHD fashion, I couldn't find my notebook that I had from a class that I took to go over. So
oh,
we're
no.
just going to we're gonna base it off of what I remember. So, tarot and oracle cards, they are beautiful, but historically messy in the terms of when it comes to divination tools. Now, I know some people are thinking, oh, great, here's another white woman who is a witch and is giving a little lecture on tarot. But first of all, to all of those who think that, rude. Second, this is not just a witch podcast. This is a history podcast, a philosophy podcast. Can you believe people genuinely did this podcast? And occasionally a podcast. And so today we're going to lean hard into all four of those simultaneously. Because here's the thing, the history of tarot cards is genuinely bonkers. We're talking gambling dens in the Renaissance Italy, a French guy who made up an entire ancient Egyptian origin story and somehow got everyone to believe it, a black female artist who illustrated one of the most influential decks in history, and then, as always happens, got completely erased from the credits. Victorian artists, Aleister Crowley being his absolute worst self, and a whole philosophical rabbit hole about whether pulling a random card from a shuffled deck can actually tell you something true about your life. There's also a surprisingly emotional section in part three where we'll talk about interpretation. And I just want to warn you, it can get a little real, but in like a good way. So, yeah. And also, if you are somebody who doesn't enjoy this, thank you for the few minutes that you listen to us. You can skip all the way to the almost end where we will kibitz again. And yeah, thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the history first on this. So let's set the scene. You're going to go back early 1400s. You are a wealthy nobleman in northern Italy, Milan, let's say, or maybe Ferrara or Bologna. Life is pretty good if you are you. Let's just say life is extremely bad for everyone else who isn't you, a rich nobleman in the late medieval Europe. And one of your favorite pastimes after commissioning portraits of yourself looking very important and eating alarming amounts of game meat is playing cards. The card game you're obsessed with is called Tarocchi. And excuse me, Italian's not my language aside from pasta. So it's Tarocchi, Tarocchi, or in some regions, Trionfini from the Latin word for triumphs. Think of it as a distant ancestor of bridge, or maybe more accurately, a very dramatic ancestor of bridge. The game involves suits, which is cups, coins, swords, and batons, numbered cards with each suit, and then a special set of trump cards that could be everything else. So if you think about the way a deck of cards is, you've got your face cards and you've got your number cards. And what we have here is that the trump cards are the ones that we now call the major arcana: the Fool, the Emperor, the Wheel, Fortune, the Hangman. But at this point in history, they are just cards, game pieces. There's nothing mystical about them. You're playing a card game. The earliest surviving tarot decks are called the Visconti Sforza decks, commissioned by the Duke of Milan, the Sforza family, around 1450. And these decks are extraordinary objects. They're hand painted, they're gilded. Some of the cards have actual gold leaf on them, and the figures on the cards are sometimes recognizable as members of the Duke's own family. These were luxury items, status symbols. They cost the equivalent of what a skilled craftsman might earn in months. Of course, Regular people were not getting their tarot read with these. Regular people were even touching these. These were made for the noble class to play games with and show off. The idea that these cards held mystical meaning was generally not a thing yet. So, how on earth did we go from expensive card game for Italian nobles to a tool of mystical divination used by millions of people worldwide? I'll tell you how. And it involves the French, because of course it does.
Makes sense.
So by the 1600s and into the 1700s, card games using tarot style decks had spread across Europe. And in France, a standardized printed version became popular. The Tarot de Marseille, they are wood block printed, reproducible in a large numbers, and which makes it affordable. The Tarot de Marseille had a very specific aesthetic, bold outlines, flat colors, stylized figures that became the look of tarot for several centuries and still has devoted fans today. And here's where things start to get weird. Somewhere in this period, people started using tarot cards not just for games, but for cartomancy, divination using cards, fortune telling. It appears to have happened gradually. Ordinarily, these playing cards were already being used for simple fortune telling by the 1500s. If I remember correctly, it would be things like spades would mean misfortune, diamonds would mean money, hearts would be love, and I can't remember what clubs would be. But so adding tarot cards to that practice wasn't a massive leap. A reader in a market or village might lay out a few cards and interpret them as signs of things to come, which, this is informal, folksy. But then someone came along that was going to take people kind of vaguely reading cards and turn it into an entire philosophical system. Ugh, English hard today. And that someone was, I cannot stress this enough, completely making things up. So we have Antoine Comte de Guesblanc and the most influential lie in occult history.
My
So the
word.
year is going to be 1781. Paris is buzzing, of course, as Paris always is. The Enlightenment is in full swing. Salons are going around with intellectuals going on about reason, science, and progress, but also paradoxically, extremely into secret societies, hidden wisdom, and mysterious ancient knowledge. It's a weird moment in history. People are simultaneously inventing modern chemistry and attending seances. Very chaotic, very me. And so into this moment walks Antoine Comte de Guesblanc, a Swiss born, French educated, Freemason, amateur scholar, and I have to be honest, an absolute master of confident nonsense. A Dunning Kruger effect.
Oh my god. I love the
I
name though
guess
too. I just that name is crazy.
so. Comte de Guesblanc was working on a massive encyclopedia of ancient cultures when he claimed to encounter a Tarot de Marseille deck at a social gathering. And what he had at that time, we might generously call a epiphany, and what historians would call a complete lack of rigor. He looked at these cards, the imagery, the symbols, the trumps, and became convinced that he was looking at the book of Thoth. Thoth? Okay. Oh, it's Thoth. So that's why I'm like, Thoth?
Yeah.
Thoth? Okay.
Yeah. Egypt.
Which is a sacred text from ancient Egypt, a repository of mystical wisdom encoded into card form by an Egyptian priest before the fall of Alexandria, smuggled out of Egypt by travelers who came to be known as the Roma, and then preserved for centuries, completely unknowingly by European card players who had no idea they were playing games with ancient magical secrets, which, no. So he published this theory in 1781 in the eighth volume of his encyclopedia, Le Monde Primitif. And because he was a respected intellectual who wrote with tremendous authority or audacity, and the reading public was absolutely starving for this kind of thing, it was immediately wildly influential. Was any of it true? No, not one word. Historians and scholars have thoroughly dismantled the Egypt theory. The timing alone doesn't work. Tarot appeared in Italy in the early 4th, and the historical and archaeological evidence linking it to ancient Egypt simply does not exist. The Roma people originated in northwestern India, not Egypt. The name Gypsy itself based on the incorrect assumption that they came from Egypt. So he was wrong on multiple levels simultaneously. The Book of Thoth connection was a pure invention. And yet the damage, or depending on your perspective, the gift was done. The idea caught fire in a way that couldn't be undone. Because once you suggest that something has a secret ancient origin, that carries hidden wisdom. That's more than it appears. People don't want to let that go. The mystique becomes part of thing. So then next, we have the person who really ran with Kortekeblin's ideas and turned them into a commercial enterprise was a Parisian fortune teller who went by the name Atelier. His real name was Jean-Baptiste Aliette, which he reversed to Atelia as his stage name. And honestly, if that's not the most 18th century magician energy I've ever heard, I don't know what is.
Or
I mean, he already had a good enough last name. That would be like me doing my last name, and that would be a clusterfuck to try and pronounce my last name backwards.
you know, I come across names like doctors' last names and things like that all the time that I'm just like, I see referral here from doctor,
Blah blah blah.
and I'm like, how do I don't even know how to say this. Didn't
Yeah,
mutilate it.
yeah.
I admit that right up, right up front. I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna mutilate this. I know I am.
So Atelier had already been doing cartomancy with regular playing cards when he encountered Kortekeblin's work, and he basically had a business idea. What if I take this quote unquote ancient Egyptian mystical wisdom angle and run directly at it? He published several books on reading the cards for divination, and which is the same year the French Revolution began, which is great timing. He published his own redesigned tarot deck specifically created for divination rather than gaming. So, Atelia's deck was different from anything that had come before. He reassigned meanings to cards, changed some imagery, and created what he believed was a corrected version of the ancient Egyptian original. He was wrong about the Egypt thing, but his contribution, creating a deck specifically for readings designed to be a divination tool first and foremost, was genuinely revolutionary. Revolutionary. French Revolution.
So both of them are trying to like link this to like ancient Egyptian or use it, but they're both incorrect.
Mhm. And basically, what it is that you had your first guy who was wrong, but because he was the authority on a lot of things because he was seen as a scholar and it's not like we had fact checkers back then. So he got this idea to put that together just by looking at them and using whatever connections he had in his scholarly.
Yeah.
Now this guy, Atelier, however you want to say it, I just want to keel that every time I say it. He was basing it off of the fact that this guy was an authority, but then he changed it from
Okay.
that to more of what we see today.
Okay. Okay. But he was still a little wrong though when it came to like the Egyptian stuff.
Mhm. Yes. I I think he was basing it because, of course, back then you've got Egypt is still seen as mysticism
Yeah.
and all of that,
And well,
because soon
rightly
came the
so. I mean, they had a
1800s.
Book of the Dead and just
Mhm.
the reincarnation
Well,
and that very mystical.
In the 1800s, they really started on that whole thing with mummies and, really archaeology kind of stuff. And so that's how it kind of really lit all of that in there. But the thing is that Atelier, he was also notably a working class man who made his living reading cards. He wasn't a nobleman, he wasn't a scholar, he was just a professional card reader who charged clients for sessions. He is, in many ways, the father of the professional tarot industry.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, something an actual working class person gets to take credit for. So now we're gonna fast forward to Victorian England. Excuse me. We have the 19th century occult revival is in absolute full swing. Talking to the dead, seances, mediums. is enormously popular. People across the social spectrum are genuinely, sincerely trying to make contact with the spirit world. Theosophy has thousands of followers, societies are multiplying, and in 1888, a group of occultists founded the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in London. This organization was, and I mean this respectfully and descriptively, absolute clusterfuck of charismatic egos and genuine brilliance crammed into one institution.
God. Awesome.
At various points, its membership included William Butler Yeats, the Nobel Prize winning poet, author of The Second Coming, deeply and sincerely committed occultist who believed in magic and was a member of the Golden Dawn for years. Aleister Crowley, who is a whole separate episode, possibly several. The short version, he's extremely controversial, called himself the Great Beast, claimed to be the wickedest man in the world, and was by most accounts genuinely terrible on a personal level, and also developed an incredibly influential occult system. He eventually got kicked out of the Golden Dawn, which tells you something. And then another one is Samuel Liddell Mathers, one of the founders, who eventually claimed to be receiving instructions directly from mysterious divine beings called the Secret Chiefs, which is when the organization really started to fall apart. So the Golden Dawn developed an elaborate and internally consistent magical system that linked tarot to Kabbalah, astrology, numerology, alchemy, and Hermeticism. They assigned each tarot card to a specific position in the Kabbalistic tree of life. They assigned cards to astrological signs and planets. They made the tarot into a complete cosmological map. Whether or not you believe in any of this, you have to admire the ambition. They essentially created a unified theory of Western esoteric symbolism, and the tarot was the organizing framework. Their work is still the backbone of how most Western tarot readers approach the cards today. So we're going to fast forward again a little bit further, and we're going to go to 1909. And the person who deserves far more of your attention than she has historically received. Her name was Pamela Coleman Smith. She was born in 1878 in London to a Jamaican mother and an English father. She grew up partly in Jamaica and partly in the United States and England. She was an artist, an illustrator, set designer for theatrical productions, a published author, a member of the Golden Dawn, an active participant in the suffragette movement, and one of the most creatively gifted people in her entire social circle. She was
Wow.
also yeah,
That's impressive. That's an impressive resume.
yeah, for a Black woman in
Yeah.
Victorian England.
Yeah. That's incredibly impressive.
She was also commissioned by the Golden Dawn member Edward Arthur Edward White to illustrate a tarot deck. Previous tarot decks, including the Tarot de Marseille, had been the standard for centuries and had fully illustrated images on the major arcana. But the minor arcana tip cards were essentially geometric: three cups arranged in a triangle, seven swords arranged into a pattern. There was no people, there's no scene, no story, just shapes. So Smith changed all of that. She illustrated every single card with a fully realized scene. The Five of Cups showing a cloaked figure standing before three spilled cups, two standing behind them, a perfect visual metaphor for grief and the things we fail to notice in our sorrow. The Eight of Swords shows a woman bound and blindfolded, surrounded by swords, but the swords don't touch her, and the ropes look loose. Constraint that is, at least partly, a matter of perception. The Ten of Pentacles shows multiple generations of a family in an archway surrounded by abundance, legacy, inheritance, the long view. These images are storytelling. They're immediately readable. You don't need to memorize meanings. You can look at the cards and feel what it's trying to say. And this was a revolution on how tarot could be learned and used. This deck was published in 1909 by the Rider Company and became known as the Rider Waite deck. Later on, once historians and the tarot community finally started insisting Smith get her name on the thing she created, the Rider Waite Smith deck. So
So, Just a question. Did it say anything at this point in time about, were these things, like, considered were they considered evil at this point? Like, were they I mean, because nowadays, I mean, people some people are like, "Oh, satanic, satanic," when it comes to tarot and oracle, I mean, but were they did they have that kind of connotation back then? Like, in the early in the when she was doing or were they still more like a mystical, like, was it okay back then? Did it
Well,
say
it would
anything
have
about
been just like the, Ouija board or the spirit boards of the time. Remember, this is early 1900s. We don't have as much evangelicalism going on here. It's the early 1900s. So, we have finally gotten through like the Civil War, and early 1900s will soon be into the Great
Industrial
War.
Revolution? Well, you're into the Industrial Revolution, I mean you know, you're getting more, technology and more so I mean, you would think that, it would be more like, it would be more welcomed and more, you know, it would be considered not as evil or yeah, but
Well, and the thing is you have to think too is that you had higher mortality rates
mhm,
then. Yeah, sure, we were getting things done, through pasteurization of milk. What else? Penicillin soon to
mhm,
come, but
mhm.
not quite there yet.
I mean,
So,
automobiles are, with the assembly line and things like that are coming in
are
in the early
just
1900s
starting.
and things like that. So, I mean, you're getting more knowledge, you're getting more, like, worldly.
But
I was
at the
just
same
wondering
time, though, you had still had a lot of death, and no matter who you are,
you
you are always you still hold that hope
know
of actually somehow hearing again from your loved one, whether it be when you get to the other side in death, if you're strictly religious, or, using cards or anything like that. Yeah, and it's also you didn't have as much evangelicalism either, if you think about it. That didn't happen
the
till
craze kinda came later. Okay. Just
yeah.
curious.
So, Pamela Coleman Smith was paid a flat fee for her work. She received no royalties. The deck she illustrated went on to become the single most influential tarot deck in history, the template for thousands of subsequent decks, the standard for what tarot looks like in the Western imagination. And she received essentially no recognition for it during her lifetime. She died in
Of course not.
1951. Yeah. She died in 1951 in poverty in a rented cottage in Cornwall. Her
Oh,
belongings were auctioned to cover her debts. For decades, tarot books would refer to the deck simply as the Waite deck, with no mention of the woman who brought it to life. The occult and tarot communities have been reckoning with this belatedly and in recent years pretty seriously. But it's worth sitting with the fact that a Black woman's creative genius was exploited, erased, and unrewarded, and that the tradition she helped shape spent decades refusing to acknowledge she existed. So here we go into the 20th century and tarot explosion. So after the Rider Waite Smith deck, tarot spread steadily but quietly through the early 20th century. It was still largely an occult thing, practiced by people in esoteric circles, not exactly mainstream. Then the 1960s and 70s happened. The counterculture movement was enormously interested in anything mystical and outside the mainstream Western tradition. Astrology had a massive revival, and so did Eastern religions. So did Wicca and neo paganism. And tarot, accessible, visual, portable, not tied to any single religious tradition, exploded in popularity. By the 90s, tarot had broken out in purely occult spaces and that into new age shops, bookstores, and popular culture. And then the internet happened and tarot absolutely exploded. Tarot readers on YouTube, tarot communities on Tumblr, tarot hashtags on Instagram, endless decks for every aesthetic, gothic, botanical, Afrofuturist, queer, indigenous, anime inspired, you name it. Now there are thousands of tarot decks in print, and the community around them spans every conceivable background, belief system, and aesthetic sensibility. Which brings us to what is tarot and what is oracle, and what is the difference and why does it matter? So now that we've gone through how we ended up with tarot, There are still a lot of people who get confused, including people who have been using cards for years. And the confusion is understandable because both tarot and oracle cards are decks of cards you use for reflection or guidance, and they can look pretty similar from the outside, but they're not the same thing. So, what makes tarot tarot? The tarot deck, any tarot deck, regardless of theme or aesthetic, has a fixed structure 78 cards, always, every time, divided into two sections called the major arcana and the minor arcana. That structure is non negotiable. If the deck doesn't have it, it's not tarot. So your major arcana is 22 cards, numbered 0 through 21. These are the ones you've heard of, even if you don't read Carl. The Fool, if you don't read Carl. If you don't read Carl,
Yeah, big Carl. Oh my word. But it's all good, friend. It's all good.
get it together, Carl. So, if you don't read tarot, the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermitage, the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hangman, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. And honestly, with this, I think that because there's a card that's called the Devil is usually what has brought people to be like, "That's
Yeah.
evil."
Well, I think also just the whole idea of, of seeing the future, whatever they think tarot cards do, like just that it's that it's the devil's work. Who knows? Like a Ouija board. Yeah. You
Mhm.
summon the demons, you summon Satan, you summon the evil.
And that didn't really happen until The Exorcist came out. So,
Yeah.
think
I
about
think
that.
that was yeah.
So, these cards, they represent big archetypal forces, like major life themes, kinds of energies and experiences that feel significant and weighty. And they are, transformation, loss, power, love, crisis, revelation, completion, change. When major arcana cards show up prominently in a reading, the general message is pay attention. This isn't small. This is the stuff that shapes a life. Now, then after that, you have the minor arcana, which is 56 cards divided into four suits. You have wands or batons, cups, swords, and pentacles. Though different decks do use different names sometimes, and so each suit runs from ace through 10 plus four court cards. The minor arcana deals with everyday texture of life, like how things are unfolding right now, emotional states, practical circumstances, the details of situations. Each suit has its own element associated with it. Wands are fire, which is passion, drive, ambition, creative energy, career pursuits, and conflict. When wands show up, something is moving. Cups is water, which is for emotions, relationships, intuition, dreams, the inner life, love, grief, and connection. The cup suit is where you go when your heart is involved. Swords is air, which is thought, communication, truth, conflict, mental clarity, and pain. The sword suit is often the most uncomfortable suit in the deck. A lot of oof cards here. If you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. in a spiral, you've lived the Nine of Swords. And then we have Pentacles, which is money, work, physical health, home, resources, stability. When pentacles show up, the reading is often grounded in practical, tangible reality. So every tarot deck, the spooky gothic ones, the cute animal one, the feminist one, carries that skeleton. That's what makes it tarot. Now, what makes oracle cards? Oracle cards are, in the most liberating sense of the phrase, whatever the created wanted them to be. There's no required card count, there's no required structure, there's no suits, no major, minor divide, no number sequence. An oracle deck can have 30 or 80 cards or 52 cards. It can be organized around any theme: crystals, goddesses, affirmations, spirit animals, moon phases, flowers, chakras, angels, grief, love, languages, literally anything. Each oracle deck is its own self contained system. You read the card on the deck's own terms using the guidebook or imagery the creator provided. Moving from one oracle deck to another is a bit like moving from one author to another. The vocabulary and voice are different each time. In modern tarot and oracle community, oracle decks have absolutely proliferated. They range from deeply serious spiritual tools designed by trained practitioners to pretty decks that are essentially affirmation cards with beautiful art. All of them are valid. The question is just, what are you looking for? And does this deck speak to you? Tarot versus Oracle, choosing which one that you prefer. People will, new to this will ask, which one should I start with all the time? And the honest answer is it really depends on you. Tarot has a real learning curve. You've got to learn like 78 cards, understand the suits, get a feel for the court cards, wrap your heads about what reversals are. This can take time, and some people spend years studying tarot and still feel like beginners, which is pretty true. I mean, I have been doing tarot for at least 5 years, I wanna say, and I still have to, like, grab the
Yeah,
book and be like,
yeah. That's the thing that I'm not fond of when it comes to tarot is that I feel like it's more structured.
Mhm,
It's more, like, kind of by the book. Literally, like, I have to go buy the book, I have to look at the book and say, "Okay, now what is this?" And I feel like with Oracle, it's more like, what does it mean to you? What is it how does it feel? What is it it's more, like, intuitive, like, like, what do you feel like the deck is telling you?
mhm.
That's how I feel when it comes to Oracle, and I prefer Oracle to tarot. Well, I can't talk either now. It's spreading. It's spreading. You're doing this to me, Sheena.
It's contagious. So, with this, if that's something that you like, having a framework to learn and grow within and find depth satisfying, the tarot might be your thing. And then Oracle is more immediately accessible because there's no fixed system. You can pick up an Oracle deck and start working with it the same day. You have a low barrier to entry, which makes it a great for beginners, great for daily practice, and great for people who find complexity of tarot more stressful than illuminating. A lot of experienced readers use both tarot when you need nuance and complexity, or a smack in the face. Tarot is great for when there's a whole situation and you want to look at it from every angle. And Oracle is really good for daily check ins or as a clarifying card alongside the tarot spread. Neither is more serious or more valid. They're different tools for different purposes. And so, part three of this, which I mentioned before, is going over how you actually interpret the cards. And guess what? There's no right way. So now you've gotten yourself a deck and maybe you've had it for years and you still feel like you're guessing. Maybe you just bought it, it's in the box, and you're slightly intimidated. Wherever you are, welcome. And here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. There is no single correct way to read tarot or oracle cards. There is no certification you need. There is no secret knowledge locked away that separates real readers from people just messing around. The gatekeeping that sometimes happens in divination communities is real, it's annoying, and you can absolutely ignore it. The only time is if it's a closed practice, then it's not for you. At its most basic, a card reading is this: you hold a question or intention in your mind, you shuffle a deck of cards, and personally, I prefer to tap it 3 times with selenite, or if I can't find my selenite, then I tap it 3 times with my energy. So that way it connects to me. That's something that I find really important to it is aside from like shuffling, if I tap it 3 times, then it's me going, knock, knock, knock. Hello, it's me.
Yeah. I just kind of hold mine and try to breathe energy into it and let it, like, feel me and I feel it, and so that we're in tune with each other.
Yeah. Yep. And so then you can go through, shuffle it, you can cut it, you can do whatever you want. You can spread them out in a row and put your hands over it and pull a card from there that you feel pulled that you need to pull. That's how it works, at least for me. Personally, I'll shuffle, and if anything jumps out, I'll hold on to it, and if it's a whole bunch of cards, I will go through them and just use my intuition on whether or not it's supposed to be mine or not. I get a tingling feeling in my hand if it's supposed to be the one that I use. So then with that, like I said, you hold a question or intention, you shuffle, you draw however you need to draw, whether it be one or more, and you reflect on what they mean in the context of what you're holding. The mechanics of why this work is a question people have answered a lot in different ways. The psychological, secular view is that you're using a random prompt to access your own unconscious knowledge. You already have a lot of information about your situation, your feelings, your patterns, your fears, your hopes. That card will give you a framework and a visual to hang all of that on. The randomness is paradoxical and it's the point because it bypasses the defenses your conscious mind has built up. This is the Carl Jung approach. Jung was deeply interested in what he called synchronicity, the idea that meaningful coincidences are worth paying attention to, not just noise. The spiritual view is more varied. Some practitioners believe the cards are guided by something external: spirit guides, ancestors, the universe, divine intelligence. Some believe the reader has genuine psychic gifts activated through the cards. Some believe all of the above. Both frameworks lead to the same practical result. You sit with the card, you let it tell you something, and you do something useful with that information. The metaphysics of why it works matters less in daily practice than the fact that a lot of people find it genuinely helpful. For tarot, learning the major arcana is a journey rather than a list of 22 definitions that makes everything click faster. The Fool, card 0, is a figure stepping off a cliff, bag on a stick, small dog at their heels. He's not looking where he's going. He has no idea what he's about to face. He is pure potential, pure beginnings before any of the lessons that have been learned. The Fool is you at the start of anything. The journey from the Fool through the world is sometimes called the Fool's Journey, a narrative arc in which Cole encounters different forces, teachers, and experiences that shape them into someone who has truly lived. Early cards, 0 through 7, is authority, structure, and power. The Magician, which is the power of will and action. The High Priestess, intuition and hidden knowledge. The Empress, abundance, nurturing the natural world. The Emperor, which is structure and order. The Hierophant, tradition, and spirit guidance, the Lover's choice and values, the Chariot, discipline and drive. And then you have the tests, which is 8 through 14. So you have strength, which is courage over force, the Hermit, introspection, the Wheel of Fortune, the turn of fate, justice, accountability, hangman, surrender and perspective, death, necessary endings, temperance, integration, and balance. And then you have the shadow and the liberation, which is 15 to 21. So you have the devil, which is attachment and bondage, the tower, the sudden collapse of what was built on unstable ground, the star, hope after destruction, the moon, illusion and the unconscious, sun, clarity and joy, judgment, awakening and reckoning, and the world, which is completion, the end of one cycle, beginning another, to which the star is one of my favorite cards, not only because I love stars, but definitely for the meaning behind the card. And so when you know this arc, you can feel the cards. Death isn't just transformation, it's specific transformation that can only happen after something has truly ended. The grief of the necessary ending, the clearing that comes after. The tower isn't just upheaval, it's the particular upheaval of something built on an unstable foundation finally collapsing, and the strange relief that sometimes follows. So now comes the great debate of reverse cards, cards that come out upside down. The question, and which is also, again, another thing, it's not universally right or wrong on how you feel of this. No reversals. Some readers shuffle without flipping cards or orient them upright before drawing, which is completely valid. You have reversed as blocked or delayed. The upright three of cups is celebration and community. Reversed, it might mean isolation or celebration disrupted. The energy is there, but not flowing freely. Or also something, it can be as shadow work. So you're going to be having more difficult, challenging, or self destruction expressive of the card's core energy. Or that reversed is that it's your energy turning inward rather than expressing outward into the world. So for beginners, start without reversals, maybe. Learn the upright meanings first. Once those feel comfortable, introduce reversals if you want to see how it changes your readings. And so I just thought maybe we could go over a couple of different spreads. There is your one card pull, which, I like to do that for a daily, just pull one and just be like, all right, so, what's today going to be? What do I need to know right now? And then you can, and as a beginner, that's how I started, was just doing the daily pull. And then if you need any additional information, you can pull more cards on that. And then you have your 3 card spread, which is probably the most used spread. And classically, it's been used for like past, present, future. But you can also determine it if it's a situation, a complication, and advice. What I see, what I don't see, what I need to see, where your mind, body, and spirit are, what you need to release, what to keep, and what to call in. and you, the other person, and the dynamic between you. And then you have one that's called Celtic Cross, which is 10 cards. The Grand Classic positions cover the core situations, the crossing challenge, the distant past, the recent past, the potential future, what you bring into the situation, outside influences, your hopes and fears and outcome. I've never really done this one myself because I don't need all of that. I know my past and I'm working in the now, not in the tomorrow. So, but I think most definitely on what you should take of doing and your pulls is that you need to trust your gut. When you look at a card, is there something that's comes out to you on the card? If there's roses blooming, is something happening? Is something going to be, starting? But it really just depends on what your cards do and what they all look like, and also remember that the cards reflect, they don't sentence you to what's going on. And like I said before, sometimes when you pull it and you're just like, it just smacks you in the face with being like, hey, remember this is what's going on. And you're like,
Mm.
I know. And sometimes that's what you need. So that is the wildly weird, deeply human, and occasionally infuriating history and practice of tarot and oracle cards, from a card game commissioned by an Italian duke uh, to a Frenchman who invented ancient Egyptian origin story, and to a Black woman who created one of the most significant pieces of divination. And, you know, this isn't something, that a lot of people, I grew up with, you don't do that. You don't do the tarot. So when I got it, it was kind of one of my many ways of fuck you or when I left the church.
Yeah, kind of rebelling, you know? I was like, "You know what? This and soda."
Well, I drink soda.
Iced
Yeah.
tea.
And I don't like iced tea still. Too sweet.
But no love lost, okay. No love lost.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not meh. So with that, just don't force it when it comes to your practice, and you don't and even if you have to rely on the book or if you put it into, like, Labyrinthos or some kind of place where you're like, "I just don't get it," and you put it somewhere online to figure out what it's trying to tell you. It's not wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's like anything, you have to practice and get familiar with things and get familiar with everything, and like you said, you also have to feel it. You have to, kind of feel. There's no right or wrong. That's what I love about, Wicca, witchcraft. There's no right or wrong, for so many religions, they I got tired of, you have to pray this way, you have to say this, you have to sing this, you have to do this, you have to pray, like, you have to say these words to pray, you have to, and it's like, why do I have to do any of this? Like, who says, like, who says I have, and, I love that you can just kind of feel, if it feels right to you, then it's probably right, and it's probably good, it's probably what if it doesn't feel quite right, if it feels off, then maybe it's not working and you can do something else, I mean, there's no right or wrong, it's how you feel, and it's how you interact and how you interconnect with your tools.
Right. Right, and exactly, and the thing is too, and a whole 'nother other thing about religion is organized religion is if you have to rely on religion to tell you what's good and bad, then you've got problems that you need to sort out
Yeah.
because, have I hexed somebody? Yeah, I did. I've hexed somebody once.
I think maybe once a while ago, this woman I worked with, I never wanted to, like, banish her or anything like that, I kind of just wanted to, like, be invisible to her.
Mhm,
Because she was very backstabbing, two-faced, and I wanted to go into work, I wanted to do what I had to do, and I wanted to go home. That's what I wanted to do. And this woman always would, like, go to management, she'd whisper about people and, you couldn't trust her, and yet she would say shit, like, negative shit about you to the new people coming on board that she would train, and, she did that to me a couple times. Apparently, she still is well, she is still doing that from when I was even though I don't work there anymore. I don't work in the office anymore. she's still, I guess, telling new hires to watch out for me because I'm two-faced. I'm like, "Well, if you mean it's because I talk about you behind your back, yeah, I do because you're a nasty bitch." And,
Mhm,
I'm sorry, if the shoe fits, but, you know, if anyone who gets to know me hopefully sees that what she is saying and a lot of people unfortunately have left that office because of her, but nothing is
mhm.
done. But while I was there, I was like, I wanna be invisible to her, and, so I did, light some candles and, just do some imagery work and just, I to just try to be invisible. So I really didn't put a hex on her, I wanted to just stay out of her way.
Yeah, no, I because this person was hurting people. So,
Yeah, no,
and
that's
here's the thing, none of your it's not going to happen instantly. If you do
well,
anything, nothing happens instantly. It took 2 weeks for it to happen.
I love when I bend time. No, we're not I know we're this is a talking about tarot, but I mean, I have done this before in the past. It's worked every time I've done it. If I'm late to something or if I'm like, "Okay, I wanna arrive by 3:05, 3:05, 3:05." And time literally slows down to where I will then arrive at 3:05 or at that time that I designate. If I concentrate hard enough and I see it in my head and I focus on that time, it just everyone has magic in them.
Mhm.
You know, it's it's not like Bewitched, where you snap your fingers and you clean a room, it's not like that. And, when
I
people
so
think of
need
ma
that.
yeah, I know, God, me too. Snap the whole house, clean
Yep.
up the whole house. But, it's and what people don't understand is, you know, spell casting is really just prayer, but using tools.
Mhm,
Using tools to help bring about that result, using candles, bells, yarn, paper, construction, color, crayons, whatever tools you want to use to visualize what you want to do.
mhm.
It's more tangible. It's more creative, it's more in depth, it's more in touch with earth and everything, it's really neat, like, it's so much deeper than organized religion, because when I went to church, I would sit in a pew and I would
Mhm,
read the prayer that I had to say that was written by the minister in my program, but they weren't my words.
mhm.
They didn't have my intentions. They didn't have, they had not it was none of me in there, I can personalize my beliefs. And that's what I love about it. You can you can make it your own. So, I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm sorry. But
So
no, same with the tarot cards, same with, oracle, it's personalized, you can it's very personal, if you feel it, then that's the deck for you.
mhm.
If you don't feel it, if it's not talking to you, if you're not connecting with it, then that's a sign that maybe you need to look for something else, you know? That's what I was trying to say in a very, very long roundabout way.
Right. Well, I did go ahead and, I
Mhm.
spun the wheel.
Are you okay? Oh god.
Welcome to ADHD, where I just all of a sudden just had a 404 screen on my brain.
I literally saw it too. It was like, "Holy smokes, friend. It's okay. It's all good."
So, yeah, sorry, blue screen of death. I rebooted.
Hmm.
So I spun the wheel of name and I got paranormal
Okay.
for my next episode. So, woo!
Sweet.
And we've got you next week.
Yep.
And you had what? Free space?
Free space. I'm honestly I'm still in a quandary. I really sit down and think. I still am not sure what I wanna do. Like, I have yeah, I have to really think about it, and I apologize. I slacked this last week. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. I'm like, there's so much like, I have to, like, just slow my brain down and just, "Okay, what do I wanna do?" And go with it.
Yeah. I mean, currently right now, I'm going through, I've got class. My pharmacy tech class is almost over, so my brain will hopefully stop doing that.
Well, that's coming up soon, isn't it? You're
Mhm. Yeah,
what, 2
on the
weeks?
17th.
A week? 2 weeks, week and a half.
Mhm.
Wow.
2 weeks. So, yeah, yep. So
I
I right now everything in my head is going, "Oh, is this related to pharmacy?" No, stop thinking about that.
It's like,
This has
"Pharmacy
been my
related?
brain.
Nope. Okay, moving on."
Yep. So I'm like, this has been my brain bait.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, I'm excited for you, and I really hope because, I mean, I know you've struggled to find your calling and that you've
Mhm.
struggled to find because, I mean, I know, like, you went to school for, like, speech therapy. Didn't you do,
No,
like, speech therapy or some kinda, like
no.
or you talked
And
about doing speech therapy.
after today's episode, that would have been a really bad idea.
You had talked about it or something, like
No, because I mean, I went through some speech therapy because I
yeah,
have a
but I
hard
thought
time saying my S's and C's and C's. If
mm.
I say too much of it, then you can hear me lisp it.
Well, I have went through speech therapy in 1st grade or 2nd grade with Carrie Rope. I don't know. Everyone else thought I sounded okay, but apparently they thought I mispronounced my R's, but whatever. But I thought you had talked about, like, that you
I
really
have thought about everything except for anything that's math related
yeah, yeah,
because
math.
math
Ugh.
is really hard. And believe me, on doing the pharmacy math, there's a thing called allegations, and
Mhm.
my brain just
Yeah,
every time I
yeah.
see it. And so I'm like, okay, I can only miss the math questions.
Well, my friend, I know when she went through clinical training for becoming a nurse, I mean, she said the pharmacology part was really hard for her. And I mean, math, I mean, that was the reason why I didn't go into any kind of medical field. Well,
Hmm.
God, it's why I didn't go into anything. I didn't do meteorology because you needed statistics. I couldn't go into psychiatry, so I could prescribe medication because of pharmacology and math. And I mean, there were a few things that kind of blocked my dreams because of math. Evil, evil, evil math.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because the thing is like because of the way schools are, obviously nobody really intends to go in for math unless they're actually really good at math,
yeah.
you know?
No,
So
no.
they make everybody take math. So that way then the math department has funding.
Well, I mean, I know some people who actually I know Mike's cousin, he actually likes math. I don't know. Like, he's abnormal, you know? I love Alex, but he's abnormal. I know I have a friend who's extremely good at math, but not and, was freaking aced his math SATs, which I hate him for because I think I scored like a 300 on my math. I got my name right. That was my math score. But, I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get people who get math, and I don't get people who like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't get how people can like it. I get that some people certain things, but like I also have like aphasia, so I can't if you tell me to picture a apple, I'm not going to picture anything. Sometimes I can like see a color, like
That's weird,
if you
friend.
yeah, that associates it like if I told you to think about the dodgeballs from school, the
Yeah,
immediate thing that I see is I see like red. Because of the
weird.
red dodgeballs that used to
Well,
smack you
yeah,
right in the
and they
face,
stung. Oh god, they stung. I remember they stank
and that
too.
smell.
That rubbery smell,
Mhm.
and the sound. I remember the sound of them hitting your skin,
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah,
To think
and the bounce yeah, and the burn, the stung. Holy smokes. Bam. A lot of nasty imagery there.
yep, but so that's something else too, because like, they're like, "Just picture trying to put a couch into your living room," and I'm like, "No, that doesn't work."
Well, I
So
mean, some of us are good at certain things and some of us aren't. Like I have resigned myself to the fact that I just suck at math. And, I accept my limitations. I can add and subtract and do maybe multiplications,
mhm.
tables, but, that is really the extent of my math. I use a calculator at all times because I would have to double check myself, if someone asked me to answer 1 plus 1.
Yeah,
But no,
the day
it's
it is, yeah.
just but ask me about history. I love learning languages, music, singing, cello, a little bit of piano. I can still do a little bit of piano. Um, I can do those things really well, and I enjoy them, and I like them, and, not everyone can do that.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
everyone.
Can I still read cello music? No, not really.
My god.
But I stopped playing in 7th grade.
I was gonna say, you didn't play at really out in Idaho, did you?
Where was I gonna play? Nowhere? In my own room?
Huh, I mean, I didn't know if your school had orchestra. I don't know. Maybe you out in the boonies out there in Pocatello, I don't know.
They only had band,
Are you serious? They had no orchestra.
no orchestra. There was a orchestra,
What kind of
and then
backwoods did you live
one
in? Good lord. Mormontown, I know.
what backwoods? There was less than 1,000 people in my town,
Mormontown, I know. I know.
but there was one that was like Caribou County kind of thing, but they were, like, playing Turkey in the Straw, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I love it. Turkey and
I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I was just playing Mendelssohn, and you want me to and you're telling me I'm not playing Turkey in the Straw right? Is it because I'm not holding it up like a fiddle and playing it as per a fiddle, not per, a violin?
oh my god, we gotta black out some teeth and you gotta chew some tobacco there. I mean, Jesus
Like, if you're
God.
playing Turkey in the
Turkey
Hay,
in the
you don't need a
straw.
cello."
God. I'm sorry. Turkey in the straw was not made for the cello.
No,
I mean, do
because 'cause I'm like, the last thing I remember playing is the Hallelujah.
you remember Mr. Fiore? Mr. Furry?
Yep,
You called him Mr.
Mr.
Furry.
Ferrari.
Mr. Ferrari. Oh my god, I loved him. I loved him
Mhm,
so much. He was so much. Didn't he do that? Like, I think he used to do, like, these I don't know, like, I just I w I wonder whatever happened to him because I he was such an awesome teacher. And then we got
mhm.
Mr. Nye, and Mr. Nye was fine. I liked Mr. Nye. He was fun, he was funny, a little odd, but, yeah, very, very fun, very nice.
When aren't musicians a little odd?
Well, I mean, he was He was interesting. I mean, he was a good teacher. He wasn't a hard I mean, I had him all the way up through high school. And he stayed in the Ephrata I mean, he's still at Ephrata,
Mhm.
I believe. And his boys, I think, are in Lebanon or something, but now but yeah, I mean but I love Mr. Fiore. I mean, I feel like he really I really enjoyed orchestra with him.
I did too, and then I moved to Idaho, BFE, Idaho, and I was
Turkey in
just
the straw.
I know. I'm like, pardon?
Yeah, like,
Here, let me
excusez-moi?
pull out
No.
my old stuff. Here,
Yeah, no,
this is what I was
no.
playing."
I am not that time I had Baby, and I was like, I would not play Turkey on within the Straw on Baby. Oh god, Baby, I miss Baby. That was a beautiful cello.
You know what, though?
He was
The one thing I can sit down and still play by heart is the Pink Panther.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my god, my mom loved when we played that. I mean, that was do you remember Swingin' Strings? Were you there for Swingin' Strings when we
Mm,
plucked the whole time?
no.
Oh my
No,
god,
because
that was
only
so
we
much
only
fun.
plucked I remember plucking with, Pink Panther, 'cause
Mhm,
there is a part
mhm.
where you pluck strings, but no, not swinging, no.
But Swingin' Strings, the entire song for cellos, I think it was for all of us too, was plucking. Except I think the very last note was a long bow, like a
Mm,
but it was like but it was like it was so amazing. It was like the 1940s, like a swinging
mm.
da-da-da-da-da. It was so much fun. Oh my god, I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I kind of liberated the Pink Panther and Swingin' Strings. I might still have them. I think I liberated them though for my school from teachers.
Yeah, because also the part too where you would go, "Dun, dun, 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 dun."
That was Swingin' Strings. No. That you mean like dun
Nope, I
dun dun
never
dun?
did.
Nah. But
No,
that's what we did
where
at the
you
end of Swingin'
and
Strings. We went dun 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 dun, and then the bow, very last night
no,
note,
it
just
was your
one bow.
fingers where you would instead of you would long
No,
bow, but then, you would bring your fingers
down the
down
neck.
the neck.
No, no, that's
Yeah,
not okay, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about something else. Okay, sorry.
yeah.
No, I Swinging Strings that was the end of Swinging Strings is,
That may have been either the second half of 7th grade or 8th grade or because yeah, I don't remember swinging strings at all.
I swear I thought it was 6th grade, but maybe it was I don't know. I don't remember anymore, to be honest with
Because
you.
the
It
last
might
thing I played was
might even been Mr. Reed too. I don't know. But I
there
thought
was one performance I missed in elementary school because I had the flu, and I we were literally on the way there, and I was coughing so hard that I was throwing up mucus, and so my mom's like, we're not going." And I'm like,
yeah.
"No, no, I want to bleh. I want
Yeah.
to go bleh."
God, and I remember what Shelby and Nate were 1st and 2nd cello. Jeff sat next to me. Oh my god.
So then that wasn't no, because well, we sat together when before I left.
That's how you sat behind me.
There was 1 year I sat behind you, but then,
Okay.
like, one
In 6th grade?
yeah,
The
in
6th
6th
grade?
grade.
Okay. Okay.
7th grade, we sat together,
Okay. So I know in elementary
but
school, I
then
remember with Mr.
it probably changed, and then it probably changed because I left, so empty
Well
seat.
I mean, Jeff and I sat together a lot, but I remember in elementary school, Nate Bontrager, I think was, like, 1st cello, and he sat in front of me or something, and Shelby Klinefelter was, like, 2nd cello or something, and then it was me and Jeff. I was like, "Oh my god." But Nate was really good. I liked watching Nate play. And then when I got to high school, there was a girl in orchestra, her name was Kara, and she was my inspiration. She was incredible. She just it was beauty. It was beauty what she did. And, she still plays. She married a fellow cellist
Mhm,
who looks like he might be a little older than she is, but they play in South America. They go around to different, and they play for, like, people who maybe are not exposed to music. I mean, that is her life, is the cello. Her life is literally playing the cello. That is her dream. That is her. She's living the dream,
I
and
know, I
it's so freaking incredible.
yeah,
So
I
freaking incredible.
remember one of my roommates, when I first got to college, one of her friends was a cello player, and I was like, "I am so jealous," because, if I had been able to do that,
Yeah.
maybe I could have gotten a scholarship or something like that. Well, things happen.
I'm sorry, we went off on a tangent. I'm so sorry.
That's
We went from
alright.
taros to cellos. Different words that end in O. Not really, but, sound in O's. Cello, tarot, I don't really tarot and T, but, you know what I mean.
Yep,
Alright, friend.
I do.
Over to
Alright.
you.
So we hoped you enjoyed our little episode, and we want you to come back next week. So make sure to like and follow and subscribe and rate and review us. So that way we can get the word out to others. We want you to join our community on So Random and Weird Podcast on Facebook. I try, like I said, right now, I'm in the middle of my pharmacy tech like study prep. So I'm like in the weeds with just studying. So, but we want you guys to post up on there, create things for us on there. Uh, we are, interact with our episode posts. Just come on over and give us ideas and prompts and tell us your spooky, crazy, true crime, and this happened to me story, so I can share mine with you guys as well. So that's our call out. Share us with your friends and family who would like this, and I guess then we will see you next week. We love you guys.
I love you guys. Thanks for listening, and as always, drop us a line. Let us know how you're doing and what's going on. Have a good night,
All right.
guys. Love you.
Bye, weirdlings.
Bye.